tonemaster Deluxe Reverb. I love this amp. It is brilliant. I'm quite picky with amps, and I've had quite a lot of amps in my history, quite a lot of nice ones. Mesa Boogies, so I've had the Rocket 44, I've had the Express 25, I've had Marshalls, Black Stars, Marshall JMP 50, all the Black Star HTs, Fender Deluxe, Hot Rod Deluxe, just loads. The Cyber Twin back in the day. This is, you know, I've had a Bus Katana as well. This is a different thing. It's got lots of functionality for a working musician, and it's really light. So one of the best things about it is the way everybody comments on the weight of these. They can't believe how easily I can lift it up, and then they can't believe that it's not a valve amp. When you use the different channels, they have a different sound and a different vibe. Things you can do with this is, first of all, you can lift it and do a really easy like journey to and from the car. On the back panel, there's some really great little functions. Obviously, the DI, when you're doing silent stage stuff, yeah, all right, you could be carrying a pedal around. This is very light, but you can do your DI there, which is great for that, and it's for quite a genuine kind of tone. You can obviously have your gain structure sorted through that. You've got switchable IRs. The IRs are really good. Really impressed with those. I tend to use the 57 a lot. The Roya is pretty special, especially if I want something with a load of nice kind of top end. I use this a lot. So this is the scaler. So my last rehearsal, very loud band. It was set to 1 watt. Okay, I'm surprised at that because we were very loud. Normally, I do gigs that are quite loud. I play a venue a lot called the Jam House in Birmingham. It's a really cool kind of place. If you're in Nashville, it's kind of like the Acme venue there. So it's people are up in your face. It's quite a cool, normally packed out place. It's normally on 5 watts, and then the rest will be going through the PA. But it's one of those where you do have a loud back line. I've never really needed it to go any louder. I'm sure there'll be a time, but on these louder settings, it is absolutely as loud as you'll ever need an amp to go. And then in the house, I can have it right down and still keep the gain structure where it is. I find you lose a lot of thickness on that very first level. As you go up, the thickness comes. It comes with volume. It comes with speakers moving around. It's a 1-year update, this is, because the speaker has to loosen up, and that speaker does sound great. I'm happy with the speaker. I have no intention in upgrading it. A lot of people go, I'm going to change the speaker right away. A few little hacks. So I do a lot of filling in for people, a lot of debt work. Some of the guys that are on the regular gigs might have a stereo setup. So the sound man likes to keep it stereo. Technically it's mono, but you're going 1 into 2. So it works within their stereo setup. And that impacts on everybody else's monitor mix, because they might have one side turned up and one not turned up, and so on and so forth. So having a Y splitter cable in your case is really good in the bottom of the amp. I don't use the foot switch. Probably should, but I don't. I've got a pedal board that I use to sort of drive. That does a lot of the lifting in terms of tones. Let's demo some sounds. Okay, so we've got the Deluxe Reverb in the setting that I like the most. Actually, it's setting number 2, and it's got quite a lovely kind of set dynamic range. I am using my little pedal board down there that you can see. Harder I hit it, bigger it sounds. It's got some nice tones. Now, if I one of the main things I use is on the King of Tone, just this little bit of a overdrive kind of sound. Really cool. So number 2's cool. I'm just going to have a crank it up a little bit more. So for me, the ideal sweet spot for this is number 2, channel number 2, and it's getting to number 4 on the volume. I adjust the treble and the bass for the room, and then I like my reverb at 3. I don't like it too drippy, and I don't use the vibrato and stuff all the while, but I have it ready to dial in. I'll talk about that in a minute. Here's a little bit of the tone. It's thick sounding. That's from my Les Paul. You have a similar thick tone experience when using the Silver Sky. So if I plug this in, bit ringier. So back with the Les Paul, because I think it's probably my main guitar right now. Everything just sings out really nicely on that setting. I'm going to try my little King of Tone. This is my kind of gain sound. Adds a bit of hair, a bit of grunt. I enjoy that. Yeah, it really does have that scoopy Deluxe Reverb sound. It's got all the sparkle that you kind of want from it. It really punches through. I'm going to turn the compressor off. That compressor makes things sound quite magical, in my opinion. Without it, it's still just as good. But I find that the Origin Effects stack compressor just gives me the best of both worlds of compression, and I can have that blend. Still got my guitar signal. Kind of gets into the nuances. Let's show you some stuff then. So things I've learned. What you can do with this, if you want to scare yourself, you can have the volume up here, when you're attenuated on full, like this, you'll hear a noise in the background. And you'll think there's something wrong with your amp. It's nothing wrong with your amp. It's just that one of the channels is on full. Remedy it. Turn that off. There's one little thing that I've learnt. Works the same with this. It's a bit louder, a bit hissier, because there's some signal going in. And then if you do this, and you'll think, what's wrong with my amp? I need to get it looked at. It's actually just firing out at full wattage. So there's a little top tip. If that happens, it's probably due to that. Channel 1. I'm going to turn these off. Channel 1 is a bit more break-up-y. But you'll see on my board that I've got loads of different overdrives, so you can mash the channel up a little bit by starting. You start making a right problem, you know. So by having it in channel 2, you're not upsetting the ecosystem as much with the pedals. So that's why I use it. It's just because of how I use it. I think if you're going to be less reliant on pedals to get your tone, probably fine without that. Channel 2 on here. Let's give it some settings. And if I compare that to channel 2 on the vibrato channel, same settings. Again, it's about how the gain works. And then channel 1 on normal. I think the reverb on it is great. I don't care. If people say, oh, it's not like this or like that, it's still a really good reverb. If I turn it all the way up, you can get lost in the reverb. If you need that much reverb, you know, you're kind of in the future somewhere. I quite dig it though, it's cool. And then this is great. Okay, so it's one of those things. I do actually use it on some gigs where I will just have the depth dialed in and I remember the speed. I think I do it that way. Let me just check. So yeah, so I have the speed dialed in, and then the depth will be set to a different one. Be set to nothing, the intensity, and I'll just turn it up to 6 or whatever, and then I've got my effect. They're the main things I wanted to talk about and things that I've learned. Just one cool thing which I've seen somewhere else on YouTube is if you turn your tones down, turn the whole thing up to 10, and just use bass. Kind of sounds like an orange. You know, probably not how most people would use a Fender amp, but it's a thing that people do. So, have I got any thoughts after owning this for a year, touring with it quite extensively? Have I got any thoughts about doing anything about selling it? Or, do I look at other amps and go, oh, I wish I had that amp? Well, I never look at them and think, I wish I had that amp instead of the tonemaster, because for me, it just does everything amazingly. It's got great sounds. It's a good pedal platform. It looks good. It's as loud as you need it and as quiet as you need it. You can just scale up. If you want that tone and just a bit louder, I don't even use the volume. My gain structure can stay the same. I can just attenuate it on stage. If I'm not on a stage where there is volume, you can just turn off the speaker and run it, and sound engineers are happy with it. So for practicality, it's got to be, it's got to be up there for a 9 out of 10. As a amp to look at and to enjoy playing as an instrument, because I think amps can be like that. It's there. It's definitely there. I think it reacts fine with everything that I give it. I like my fuzzes. It's all right with fuzz. There are some valve amps that get really magical with fuzz. Some that I've owned. But this is not rubbish with fuzz. It's cool. You just got to use your fuzz a bit differently, I think. If anything, you just think about your treble. Since doing the update, the firmware update to make it sound like the blonde one, I think it transformed it in terms of a pedal platform. It was better with distortions and gain and overdrives. So I recommend doing that. If you want it to be really bright, keep it as it is. But I've never been one for bright kind of tones. And yeah, it works great with every guitar. I'm really happy with it. So 1 year on, great amp, easy to work with, easy to live with, very reliable, dependable. It's got some little quirks, which I've shown you, but you just need to be aware of them. Thanks for watching.